see where that chain go. Chain gang off that mainframe for my main thing like Django. Bout a nigga like Shango. Old school that can't go. Right hand on my buckle, bitch. Left hand, hang low. Whip park, but it swing though. Do you know what that 6P do? Dust fly up like a fool in the truck, and you lanes can't figure how the pain bleed through. Wave on the track like a 6C do. Chip look mean and the drip see through. I'ma get mad on this beat till you niggas running for your van at the feet. Talking to your man when you see him in the street. I ain't no less, had to bless. Bass so hard you can feel it in your chest. Make it what it do, now your crew wanna ask what's next. I'ma break it down. Time by the boatload with the fofo till you no show. And I'm puffing on that cocoa till I go slow. And you sleep, motherfucker, take no dose. Better keep a low pro. If you wanna fake how the folk go, catch you on the track, run it down on the whole.
Greetings, fight fans.
DC, what's going on?
Greetings, everyone. Thank you for taking time out once again on a Sunday evening with us here. In case you didn't know, you're with DMVCS and you are in the Clinch.
In the Clinch.
Of course, we are stateside of Washington, D.C. in the studios of WLVS, and we are worldwide, listenvisionlive.com. That's where you can catch us each and every Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Check your time zones to make sure you're right to get us on schedule. We are here again, once again, on a Sunday evening here in the Clinch. So we want to thank you guys for joining us. Of course, it's your boy Lesson. To my right, the man, Manny Z, astute MMA observer and all things combat sports. And we just try to bring you a good show every Sunday night. So we got a packed day, Manny. It's another star-studded UFC weekend. Seems like every weekend's a UFC weekend now.
Yeah, that's why I was like, it's like Christmas came early, like every weekend thanks to Fox Sports 1.
A week off of the big UFC 171 Hendricks Lawler bout and pay-per-view that happened last week. We are now at UFC Fight Night 38, which is actually going on right now as we speak.
Yeah, live in Brazil.
Live in Brazil right now, and that is featuring, of course, two former MMA light heavyweight champions of the world, and Mauricio Shogun Rua and Dan Hendo Henderson.
Yes.
Two warriors. Is the second time that they're fighting now. They had a great bout back in, I believe it was October, where Hendo pulled out the victory over Shogun at that time.
But also remember they met in Pride as
yes,
well.
of course, and they've met in Pride. And this is a very long storied rivalry between these two. Two of the better light heavyweights that have come through mixed martial arts. But we'll talk UFC Fight Night 38, give you an update later on in the show of all the cards action that has happened so far, and hopefully you can catch the rest on Fox Sports 1. We're also going to take a look at the WWE Road to Wrestlemania 30 and talk about some developments in the card there. And then we are now approaching less than T-minus 2 weeks to the Road to WrestleMania in the Superdome in Louisiana and New Orleans.
WrestleMania 30.
Yeah, so it's here. And, of course, you know how we start every show. We start with the news and talking about one of the combatants last week, Johnny Hendricks. Hendricks is now the new UFC welterweight champion, has already suffered his first setback, and he hasn't even stepped in to have a defense yet. Earlier this week, this news is, of course, courtesy of MMAJunkie.com. Newly minted UFC welterweight champion Johnny Hendricks is expecting to undergo surgery next week for a torn bicep that he suffered prior to his title-winning fight against Robbie Lawler.
That man has the heart of a lion.
And he could be sidelined 2 to 3 months. Hendricks told earlier this week, LA radio station KROQ, that he suffered the bicep injury less than 2 weeks prior to the headliner at UFC 171, which took place last week in Dallas at the American Airlines Arena. He also suffered a fractured shin in the first round of his title fight.
And yet he still went 5 rounds.
So the plot thickens.
Yes.
His manager, Ted Earhart, said, confirmed that the injury is in the expected recovery time when they talked to MMA Junkie earlier this week. In an interview Monday with MMAfighting.com, Hendricks said that he suffered an elbow injury and contemplated backing out prior to the grueling 5-round pay-per-view fight. He didn't and went on to win a unanimous decision, which this is amazing now that we find out this is coming out. The man not only had a bicep tear 2 weeks prior to
in camp.
No one knew about it. At least we didn't know about it.
Nobody knew.
No one knew about it. But in the first round, he suffered a fractured shin while fighting and still found a way to win.
Still went 5 rounds. The man has a heart of a lion and the heart of a champion.
He does.
If I could stand up in the chair in the studio that would support my weight, being 6'5" and 300 plus, I would clap that shit up for Johnny Hendricks right now.
Now, here's the thing. He's going to be out 2 to 3 months now.
Yeah, that's
I know that there were people that are waiting in line to get their shot at Johnny Hendricks right now.
You know how stacked the welterweight division is?
There are welterweights right now in line to meet him. They're going to have to wait a little bit of time. It seems like this is a good opportunity, one, for Johnny to rest up, and two, for this welterweight division to work its way out. If you get guys fighting sort of in an elimination type thing where you get guys facing off against each other. We know that, T. Wood has a claim, Roy McDonald has a claim.
Carlos Condit has a claim.
But now also news that he will also have surgery and confirming the injury that he suffered last week.
Oh, yeah, when his knee exploded.
Yeah. I mean, but there are other guys that can make their ways up the ranking now that the champ is out. But this is a good way for a stacked division like this to work its way out with the champ being out.
Yes.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what happens in the welterweight division, and hopefully we see Johnny Hendricks back soon. Wish him a speedy recovery. We have now the main event for UFC Fight Night in San Antonio, which will take place on June 28th at the AT&T Center. The main event is set to be a featherweight matchup between Cub Swanson and Jeremy Stevens. They will headline the card. They confirmed the news UFC did to FoxSports.com earlier this week on Wednesday, and they're saying that this winner can now emerge as the next top contender in 145 pounds. So if UFC Fight Night, Swanson versus Stevens, UFC has not been there since, has not visited the city or the venue, but WEC was there in October 2009 with a title fight between Benson Henderson and Donald Cerrone. So between Bendo and Cowboy. Swanson's won 5 straight fights since his only loss in the UFC. He was a submission setback that he suffered to Ricardo Lamas at UFC on Fox 1. Since then, he has 4 knockouts. He's left George Root, Ross Pearson, Charles Oliveira, and Dennis Silver all in his wake. Only Dustin Poirier was able to go the distance with Cub Swanson, and he dropped the decision to him. He has 3 fight night bonuses in that 5-fight stretch, so he's been caking as well. But it will be nearly 1 year since his most recent fight, and that was the knockout of Dennis Seaver at UFC 162. Now, Jeremy Stevens had a little bit of a skid going, but he dropped down to featherweight. He was a 3-fight skid at lightweight, where he's gone 3-0. So far, he's been Estevan Payan, Ronnie Jason, and most recently Darren Elkins, who he beat on UFC Fox 10 in Chicago in January. Now, prior to his move to featherweight, Stevens has been one of the UFC's most exciting lightweights. He's had 3 knockout of the night bonuses and a fight of the night on his resume, even if his record in division, which is 7-8, isn't all that great.
Yeah, but Little Heathen always comes to put on a show for the fans.
Yeah. So it should be a good matchup between 2 guys that can definitely pack some power. We always talk about these guys that can stand up and do the job by knocking people out, and it should be a good one between Cub and Jeremy Stevens. So
Cub comes to bang every time he steps inside the cage.
So it should be very exciting and great for the UFC to be back to be in San Antonio at the AT&T Center. It's a great venue. As we expected, Manny, we knew this was coming. It was only apparent after Dana White mentioned his disgust. Mentioned his disgust after the post-fight against Michael Johnson, Johnson as well. But Melvin Gillard, who was a UFC veteran, was on the second season of The Ultimate Fighter, has now been released from the UFC. Your services are no longer needed. Gillard earlier this week met Michael Johnson at UFC Fight Night in London. However, following that event, he had a very, very boring performance. He ran the whole fight. Dana White didn't say at the time that Melvin would be released, but he was critical of his performance, and he said there's no doubt that Melvin ran the entire fight and was incredibly passive, the complete opposite of how he used to fight, Dana said. There's a lot of smack talk leading up to that fight, and those are the fights that everybody gets excited about. 9 times out of 10, they end up like tonight. They drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Now he had a 9-year run in the promotion, saw a significant amount of inconsistency. He did have a number of well-documented out-of-the-cage issues. He is a 3-time knockout of the night winner. Truly put on some really good performances. But, he had a good run in 08. Went over Dennis Seaver, Gleason Tebow, Jeremy Stevens, and Evan Dunham. That really put him in the thick of the UFC lightweight title picture. But he had a submission loss. He dropped to Joe Lozon.
And I saw that fight, and he choked him unconscious.
47 seconds. Then he lost a main eventer to Jim Miller.
Jim Miller choked him out.
Then, that commenced to, helped his skid. And he just had 2 wins in his past 8 fights. And when you don't get the work done like that, you get let go.
Well, I mean, it was bound to happen because when Dana's upset and the fans are upset, something was going to happen. It was bound to happen. He's been jumping camp to camp to camp for like the past, year and a half now. So it was textbook at this point.
Yeah. That performance really, if he wasn't done before that fight, he was done after that. It's like when you ask someone, do you want to fight for your job? Then I need for you to, you know what, John Taffer does that on Bar Rescue a lot.
Yeah, he does that.
Tells that, do you care about this place? Do you want to fight for your job? Do you want to fight for your future?
Yeah.
I feel like Dana was John Taffer, and he was talking to the listless manager who's been costing the owner millions of dollars in money by being inconsistent and being unattentive. And that's the person that gets fired right before they remodel the bar. I'm sorry, you're the worst bar manager I've ever seen. You're fired. Get out.
Yeah, but like I said, Melvin did it to himself. I think in that fight, he ran faster than you did in track back in high school.
Probably did. He probably did. And sprinted the most of that fight. Actually, he ran the whole fight, so I guess that would make him a distance runner.
Well, I mean, the entire time I'm sitting at home watching this and go, and I just saw him just turn and just kept moving away. And Michael Johnson just standing out. Dude, I'm right here. Engage me.
Bang with me.
Engage me.
So Melvin's gone. Hopefully he can find work somewhere else. I think he has WSOF written all over him.
Yeah, he's World Series of Fighting bound, or he's going to Dream in Japan.
Yeah, so news about the one of the UFC's bantamweight champion,
Henan
Barao. He's targeting a summer return to action, and he'll wait for the UFC to officially name his next challenger. But for right now, he's already identified someone. That person is Rafael Suncao. He thinks that he's the top contender right now.
Really?
Barao told MMA Junkie, he said he's been working hard for this, and he should get this shot. He's coming off of 6 wins. He's beat many guys. He deserves this, but whoever the UFC puts there, I'm prepared to go out and do my best. Now, of course, we know Henna's record.
Very so.
You know,
the man hasn't lost a fight.
Most recently in February, where he beat Uriah Faber, which is a questionable stoppage.
Highly questionable. It should have been on Capitol Hill with that injustice that took place on the Octagon.
But nonetheless, he's handled his business ever since Dominic Cruz dropped the belt to injury.
Well, yeah, because they had to make him interim champion on the Ultimate Fighter because it was supposed to be Dominic and Uriah originally fighting for the belt, to complete their trilogy. Then Dominic got hurt. Then Dominic was coming back again in his training camp. He got hurt again with a torn groin. Mm-hmm. So they had no choice. But at that point, they told, as we saw in the last fight between him and Uriah Faber, that whoever wins this fight is the uncrowned, champ. And the fact that, that bogus stoppage happened, I still disagree with Rafael Suncao. No disrespect. Shout out to Rafael Suncao. Uriah Faber deserves a rematch.
Yeah, and that's what I think most people want to see.
The man's won 8 straight fights.
Yeah, we want to see the California kid get another shot.
Yeah.
Because I think Uriah provides a unique skill set that would give Henna trouble, and that's an exciting fight for a guy that's been a veteran in MMA. We've seen him; he's a former Strikeforce bantamweight champion,
former WEC
champion, and I think it's just the right thing to do for that division at this time.
No question. And with their first title fight, what we didn't know was that Uriah Faber's sister was in a car accident. That's why he wasn't in the right frame of mind when he fought Hendo the first time.
Yeah. Anything like that will throw you off track, but
very much so.
That's who Henna has on his mind. But of course, it all depends on who the promotion wants to give his next fight to. We know that. We think that there's fights.
Uriah Faber equals money because
absolutely
he has the West Coast in his back pocket.
He does.
They know Team Alpha Male. They know Faber. They know the California kid.
So on the mend. In Los Angeles, and between there and Brazil, is Anderson Silva now weighing in on the upcoming UFC middleweight championship bout between the champion Chris Weidman.
Anderson Silva's weighing in on this?
And the Dragon Lyoto Machida. Machida is stepping in for Vitor Belfort, who is now stepped aside because, of course, he could not get an exemption and would not get an exemption from the Nevada State
That's
Athletic
because
Commission.
He can't fight with elevated levels of testosterone flowing through his bloodstream that he'd be able to compete at a normal level.
Exactly. So in comes Machida, who gets another shot at the belt, was dropped down to middleweight, has won his first 2 fights at middleweight, and that fights at middleweight, and now gets a shot at the champ, Chris Weidman. But this is what Anderson told Combate.com on earlier this week. He said, Lyoto has a good team. I believe in Lyoto a lot. We are close friends. The belt needs to be in Brazil. Weidman is a great athlete, but there isn't too much secret about fighting him. Lyoto has great chances of winning because Weidman is a normal guy. He has no weapons to threaten Lyoto. Weidman is good in the game that he trains, very good, but Lyoto has game that's hard to deal with. He moves very well.
Lesson, I hate the Mel Kiper Jr. in the studio.
I need to get your thoughts.
I totally got to disagree with you, Lesson. Just totally got to disagree. We all know what happened when Weidman and the Spider hooked up the first time. He got knocked flat.
Yeah.
And he took a face nap because of it. Then we already saw what happened when Lyoto fights a very, very good, strong wrestler in John Jones.
Yeah.
You and I saw that fight.
You go to sleep standing up.
Exactly.
And then you fall on the ground.
So Chris Weidman, who hasn't lost a fight in the UFC, has nothing for the Dragon. Sorry, no disrespect to Anderson Silva. Shout out to his fans. Shout out to the Spider. But you're completely way off base and out of the stadium, my friend.
Exactly. So, I mean, but I think that is an interesting dynamic because after this fight with Machida and should Weidman successfully defend it, which
who else is there?
Which we all expect to, he's running into the same thing. But you know what?
Who else is there?
As we talk about how things happen when people clean out divisions, eventually your time catches up with you. And the guys appear out of nowhere. Guys step up when the champ sees that he has no one to fight.
But you also got to remember Chris Weidman, that nobody gave him an opportunity or a shot against Anderson Silva.
You're right.
And he didn't give much of the payday that Anderson got, because Anderson got a guaranteed $150,000 up front.
Yeah.
And Weidman only got $40,000, and he lost his house in Hurricane Sandy. And you go out there and you take the strap from the greatest fighter to ever put on the gloves.
Yeah.
He's the classic American underdog.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And he's definitely a star now. Because he did something what no one else had been able to do, and that was
nobody.
And that was to put
the
Anderson,
last fighter that did it was Ryan Shonen back in Pride with a flying heel hook. That was 1997.
Yeah, the last person to put Anderson. He was the first person in this decade or the last decade to put Anderson Silva on his ass, and then knock him out. So interesting dynamic there with Weidman. That is coming up, of course. UFC 173 with Lyoto Machida and the champ Chris Weidman. Of course, your DMVCS in the Clinch here on WLVS Radio, ListenVisionLive.com. Your boy Lesson, Manny Z. Y'all make sure y'all follow us on Twitter, also at DMVCS. That's at DMVCS on Instagram. DMVCS, the number 2.
Market dos.
And also make sure you catch us on Facebook. Search DMVCS Radio. You'll see our logo right there. We pop fresh content, including content that Manny has updated today with some of the prelim fights that we've had so far on UFC Fight Night 38.
Yes.
Between Mauricio Shogun Hua and Dan Henderson, a.k.a. Hendo. Make sure you follow us on there. And before we go to break, there's a couple of things we want to mention. We'll be starting a Teespring campaign later on this week. Make sure you check all of our social media pages. You can buy your DMVCS shirts there. There will be, we'll need to have a minimum order for the shirts to print and to go there. But for all the supporters out there, if you'd like to see DMVCS on the air, make sure you support us. It'll be teespring.com. You'll see all the information on our social media sites later on this week. But you'll have a chance to copy you an authentic DMVCS t-shirt later on this week, trying to, of course, for support for the show. But what we'll do is we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back in a couple of minutes. We will take a look at UFC Fight Night 38 and look at some of the bouts on the card, and we'll be right back, man. Again, it's DMVCS in the Clinch.
In the Clinch.
In the Clinch on ListenVisionLive.com. It's your boy, Lesson Manny Z. We'll be right back. back. You were back with DMVCS in the Clinch.
Are live.
In the Clinch every Sunday night, Sunday at 8 o'clock on WLVS Radio, ListenVisionLive.com. Once again, it's your boy Lesson Manny Z here in the lab today. So shout out once again to our great engineer and DJ man, DJ Jordan K, behind the control of the spaceship, as always, every Sunday night, making sure we get to our destination safely. We want to thank you guys again for joining us on every Sunday night at WLVS. And just a reminder, you can follow us on Twitter at DMVCS, on Instagram at DMVCS2, and you can search us on Facebook. Just search DMVCS Radio. That's 2 words.
Also, Lesson, we are also on Vine, so you can follow us on Vine as well.
There you go. Follow us on Vine. We're there. Every exhilarating 6-second video that your heart can take. Believe it.
Indeed.
So, we are, of course, in the throes of UFC Fight Night 38 going on right now in Brazil. UFC Fight Night 38, Shogun versus Hendo. And we've already gotten underway with some of the action. But we are just going to now recap or preview some of the fights that are coming up. We're right now just starting the main card right now for UFC Fight Night 138. But, of course, we'll start with the main event. This is the sequel for Dan Henderson and Mauricio Shogun, who are both 2 former MMA light heavyweight champions. Guys who fought in the fight of the night earlier when their first fight, and also fight of the year, war by 2 guys who have been in the business for a while. But this is fight number 2, and just your thoughts on how you think the fight will go tonight.
Well, basically it's Pride Legend versus Pride Legend.
Yeah,
we know that Shogun used to train with Vanderlei, and he was just, damn near untouchable in Pride.
Yeah,
and Hendo was, a legend within itself because he was the only guy to win the Pride Grand Prix and the middleweight championship. Then when he wasn't able to win gold in his first venture into the UFC, he goes over the Strikeforce and knocks out Jay-Z Calavante to win the Strikeforce light heavyweight championship, and the dismantling of the last emperor, Fedor Emelianenko, with the H-bomb, the most devastating overhand right in mixed martial arts, hands down.
Yeah, and Fedor for that time had, before that and his loss to Fabricio Werdum, was a guy that had a win streak for years. That he had one of the greats in MMA, of course, Fedor. But this to me is I actually even saw an article earlier this week saying that why the winner or why the loser of this fight should retire. Now Shogun is 32. Hendo was the ripe old age of 43.
Still
seems like he's been fighting
ageless
forever.
Wonder, man. Ageless
seems
wonder.
Like he's been fighting forever, and it also speaks to his level of commitment for his training. But Hendo's had a bit of he's had a bit of a down spell. We've seen him. He lost to Lyoto Machida head kick. He also lost. He lost a decision to Lyoto Machida, and has I think he's somewhere between. I want to say now a 3 fight had lost 3 out of his last 4.
Well, the most devastating loss he had was against John Jones for the title, obviously, because John Jones basically it was the changing of the guard. It was the coming-age story of John Bones Jones and his launch pad.
Yeah, for Shogun.
And MMA superstardom, because he dismantled, Mauricio Shogun.
And took that fight from Rashad Evans, who was supposed to actually be the fighter.
Exactly,
that
Rashad
night.
got hurt before that.
Rashad got hurt. Now, for Hendo, he's had 3 straight losses. He's lost to Vitor at UFC Fight Night, Belfort versus Henderson.
Yes, the TRT destruction.
Lost a split decision to Rashad Evans at UFC 161.
Which was a very close fight, razor thin in that decision.
And then lost to Lyoto Machida at UFC 157, the split decision as well.
But we know what that is.
Yeah, and but other than that, of course, his resume is impressive. But
he's Hall of Famer all the way.
Yeah, these are 2 guys that are gonna put on the show for the crowd tonight.
Oh, and, of course. It's the H-bomb versus the striking of Shogun Rua, the wild.
Yeah. And if you ever seen any of the old Pride stuff, and if you have Masson, or if you're able to watch on some of the other channels, Fox Sports 1, you see these old Pride's fights, and these 2 guys put in work at Pride, man. So
no question,
should be a very good headlining fight for UFC Fight Night 138. Moving on to the rest of the card, and I'm just pulling this up. Of course, you listen to DMVCS and the Clinch, as always.
Well, we have Cesar Fiore versus CB
exactly.
Doberman Dalloway.
Yeah, exactly. So, and this is one that I think most people are expecting Cesar to win.
Well, CB's been on the downside.
Yeah, he has been, and
he was a very promising fighter, but it's just he's on the decline.
Yeah. And then of course there's Lando Santos and Omar Park, two guys that aren't afraid to get onto the mat. Both of them have finished 20 combined fights on the mat between the two of them.
So you expect a chess game?
Yeah, you're going to expect a chess match. These are two guys, of course, that have been in the Ultimate Fighter before. Yes. Two guys that can that when especially. I love watching the guys that grapple and that are good on the ground, because while the mass majority may not like that, it always shows, you know, where that training and the stuff that you learn in camp, all that comes out. Because I mean, when you're on the mat, it's only a number of different things that you can do, a number of different places that you can go. If you're on bottom, trying to defend on your back, or if you're in the guard or half guard or inside control, just trying to find a way to be able to finish the fight, get in some good ground and pound. So those are the fights I really like to watch, because it becomes a chess match, as you mentioned.
Oh,
you know?
Very much so.
Yeah.
And because of OSP, I still want to learn that Von Pluto choke.
Absolutely.
That
Von
was still
Pluto.
probably the most devastating submission I've seen ever.
Yeah. That's up there for submission of the night. And then also with the next fight on the card, main fight, Fabio Maldonado versus Gian Vellante. Both of them are very good strikers. Fabio with the boxing background.
Well, he trains with the same camp that trains Junior Dos Santos in his boxing.
Yeah. So
in top teams.
So, but Vellante is a better wrestler than Maldonado. So it'll be interesting to see as the fight goes on. That fight actually, I believe, is actually going on right now on Fox Sports 1. Fabio Maldonado and Gian Vellante. We'll give you an update on that later on in the show. And then, of course, a bout that has already taken place is Ronnie Jason versus Steven Seiler. And we can actually give you an update on that one right now. Ronnie Jason, of course, a knockout 117 into the first round, stopping Steven Seiler. It was a road to TKO victory. It was a looping right that knocked out Steven Seiler. Ronnie Jason picking up the victory. He now moves to 14-4 in MMA and also 4-1 in the UFC. Seiler drops to 23-12 and 5-3 in the UFC. He's now lost 2 straight. So that's just part of the card right there. The so far very good bouts early on, and you can sort of tell from the prelims whether you know what type of night it's going to be. And if that's the case, had some very exciting results from the prelims earlier on today, which we'll relay in the last segment of the show.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I've always been a fan of watching the prelims, where everybody's like, I'm waiting for the main card. I said, because these are the guys, they're not big name stars yet, or a lot of people don't know who they are.
It's like watching college football.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They're out there, they want it more.
Yeah,
exactly.
They want it more, and they're fighting, of course, when like on the Facebook prelims that are streamed, and then when it goes on Fox Sports 1, when there's nobody really in the arena yet, nobody's really even in their seats, and you can see it like when they show the angle cam outside the cage.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you're not going to give these guys credit, but you'll sit there and cheer, the main card, like, yeah. And I was like, I show respect to all the fighters and all their contributions.
Yeah, and it seems like it's a crowd-friendly card so far.
Well, of course, they're in Party City, man, the home of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Yeah, but it is actually a very exciting one. Number of stoppages. We will, of course, recap those later on in the show. But UFC Fight Night 38, we'll make sure you check it out on Fox Sports 1.
I believe there was another one here, Les. You have Michelle Perez versus Mayabir Tatsumusumo.
Of course, yeah. I mean, we still got a couple other fights. We will recap Mikhail Perez versus Taisumov fight that actually went the distance, and one of the few fights this card to actually go the distance.
Wow, see, that's why you have to watch the prelims. You always have somebody putting on a show.
Yeah, so we will recap that later on in the show. But we are going to get ready to take yet another break, and we are going to come back in a couple of minutes. We are going to talk actually WrestleMania 30 and talk about the road to WrestleMania and the card that's going on right now, including a couple of developments that happened earlier on this week. Of course, it's your boy Lesson. Manny Z to my right is DMVCS in the Clinch on ListenVisionLive.com. Follow us on Twitter at DMVCS and at DMVCS number 2. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes.
Tell a friend, snares pumping with the soul clap, the strings make it blend. I'ma hold this meeting, let your eardrums attend. Please, just a minute for my real G's on this depends. Rhyming since I'm 13 and ain't shit changed. Set the game and its many moves allow me to explain. We went from hip hop, rapping, flossing, then trapping, hustling and turned up. What the hell is happening? Everyone's a rapper and some niggas skills is lacking. Kill it off and resurrect, creeds to assassin. Punch it when I double up. Why the hell you asking? Guns blazed, ante up, cold as ice and aspen. Back to bring the gang back. Oh, you didn't know? New age now when I'm outlawed. Double X to the throne. Now let it build, let it build, let it build, let it build. Now let it build, let it build. My nigga, just let it build, let it build, let it build. Now let it build, let it build. Now let it build, let it build, my nigga, just let it build, let it build, let it build, now let it build, let it build, now let it build, let it build, my nigga, just let it build, let it build, let it build, now let it build, let it build, now let it build, let it build, my nigga, just let it build. All I'm hearing now is yap, 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 then it's followed up by trap, 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 what the fuck is that? Yup, copying ass niggas on the game, it's on repeat, it's like you niggas scared to let it build, right, and then compete, yeah, and then we got these soft ass niggas between the sheets, true, pillow fighting with clouds and feathers and talking sweet, and me, I got some heat for the streets, with some banger beats and bass lines and great rhymes to make it complete. I'm constantly on my hustle, but I'm not a trap star. I'm in my lane, maintaining speed like a track star. It's on and popping from here, cause ain't no stopping, it's clear. I'm elevating, do waiting, no faking without a peer. No placating, forsaking this game for these rappers here. Just shake and bake, no mistaking, I'm breaking these jokers clear. You want me to dumb it down, you clown? Then here it goes, step your game up, get your weight up, and let it flow. Now let it build, let it build, let it build, let it build, now let it build, let it build, my nigga, just let it build, let it build, let it build, now let it build, let it build, now let it build, let it build, my nigga, just let it build, let it build, let it build, now let it build, let it build, now let it build, let it build, my nigga, just let it build, let it build, let it build, now let it build, let it build, now let it build, let it build, my nigga, just let it build, 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 PG, let it build, let it build, yeah, y'all making this way too complicated, man. Might as well go ahead and let it build, you know what I'm saying? Can't stop at the top of the mountain, you gotta climb. Stop faking, man. Not bad. Not good for you. You're gonna let it ride out.
We are back in the clinch on WLVS Radio, ListenVisionLive.com worldwide. You're in the house, of course, with DMVCS, DMV Combat Systems. Your boy Lesson to my right, Manny Z. We are always in the house. You know how we do. Every Sunday night, bringing you all the best things in combat sports. Yo, guys, make sure you're following us on Twitter at DMVCS and also at DMVCS2 on Instagram, and search us on Facebook, DMVCS Radio. Give us a shout out. We'll shout you right back out.
Make sure you follow us on Vine, because we have just created a new Vine channel.
Exactly. And if you want to email us suggestions, any comments, questions,
concerns,
go DMVCS at gmail.com. That's GODMVCS at gmail.com. So here we are, 2 weeks before WrestleMania 30, and we have a clearer picture of the card as it is right now. Of course, we know that can change within the next couple of weeks.
No question about it, because it's always subject to change.
It's always subject to change. But I think we got a pretty interesting card coming up this for this WrestleMania.
Yeah, but I don't know. Compared to the last two, it's kind of like...
Right. But this is where the next couple of weeks come in, where things can get very interesting. So the main event, of course, we know for WrestleMania 30, Randy Orton against the Animal Batista.
Washington, D.C.'s own former 7-time world champion, David Batista.
Exactly. They are fighting, squaring off right now in the main event for WrestleMania for the WWE and the World Heavyweight Championships. So it's the WWE Championship and what they call the Big Gold Belt, which came over from WCW. They're going to be fighting for that. Two guys, of course, who have history. Two guys that don't like each other very much.
That they don't.
And two guys who are right now in the middle of a predicament that is sort of taking a backstory to the other fight that is sort of the co-main event for WrestleMania, if you will, between Daniel Bryan and, of course, the COO of WWE, Triple H. A fight that Daniel Bryan wanted, but Triple H, of course, just sort of poo-pooed it for the longest while. And then we saw probably the most awesome thing that we've seen in the last few years in Raw, the Occupy Raw movement with the Yes movement on Raw, with the ring and the whole area outside the ring just filled with Daniel Bryan supporters, and the Yes movement in full effect until Triple H.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just how much more over can he be?
Yeah. Just like I saw the meme. It says, so over as a face, everybody else on the roster is already a heel.
Yeah, it was just like when CM Punk wouldn't get his world title shot because Super Cena had to be the guy. He had to be the star attraction, the star of the show, while everybody else just had to sit back and eat catering in the back.
But they had the fight going on, and they are going to face each other, Daniel Bryan and Triple H, on WrestleMania 30. And this will be a match that if Daniel Bryan wins, he will be inserted into the title match at WrestleMania 30 and will become the third participant in that championship bout, where he will have a chance to win the gold as well. Now,
I have no problem with that whatsoever.
This past Monday on Raw,
it's what's best for business.
Yeah, Triple H, as the CEO of the WWE says famously all the time, it's best for business.
Yes, it's best for business.
This past Monday Night Raw, Triple H called out Daniel Bryan, said there was something that he wanted to say to his face. When we find out, in essence, he really didn't have much to say, but he did lay a beat down on Daniel Bryan. And now Daniel Bryan, of course, this is storyline, this is kayfabe, this is not real, has injured his shoulder. This is a storyline with Daniel Bryan.
2 weeks before WrestleMania, he gets injured.
He injures his shoulder. Now, this is not real. People went off on the internet this week.
My Twitter timeline exploded.
On Twitter,
Instagram.
People thought that his shoulder injury was actually legit, but it's all just part of the storyline. And I just think this is all going to set up a triumphant match during WrestleMania where he beats Triple H.
Well, yeah.
Triple H this week, when he was talking to Randy Orton and Batista, he sat there and looked at him and said, "Guys, are you serious right now? You're talking as if this is actually going to happen, as if he's going to beat me. He's not going to beat me, you know?" Like, he was just sitting there incredulous looking at the two of them like,
well, yeah, and he was befuddled.
Are you kidding me? Like, him beat me? Like, come on.
Dumbfounded.
Come on.
But Daniel Bryan, once again, was a guy I didn't sleep on. He's from Washington State. He was trained by Shawn Michaels down in Texas. He wrestled at Ring of Honor right up here in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Where he was Ring of Honor champion for 2 years and beat some of the top names that they had, like Colt Cabana, like Samoa Joe, like CM Punk, like even some of the Japanese pure wrestler wrestlers from overseas Daniel Bryan has beaten.
Yeah, then went to FCW, became a member of FCW, was on oh, goodness, the name of the show.
It eludes you.
Yeah, it eludes me. The name of the show. Goodness, what is the,
You're talking about NXT, Leslie.
NXT, exactly.
Yes.
You know what? I'm having an off night tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't worry. That's why you're my bro, and we'll get through this.
But he was on NXT, on the first version of NXT.
And his trainer was The Miz, which I didn't understand. That was like a reality star is going to teach a guy who was already champion and wrestled around the world for like 10 years.
Yeah, well, the majority of those guys you see on NXT, they've already had pro wrestling experience. Most of them come from FCW. All of them come from FCW.
Well, Florida Championship Wrestling, before he got bought out.
Yeah, and so, but he's a guy that, of course, made his way up the ranks, and he's someone who's completely over with the fans right now.
Completely over.
And I think that has to kill Vince, because we know how Vince likes his champions.
No, Vince likes his super champions like Jonathan Felix Anthony Jr. of West Newbury, Massachusetts, for some reason, who thinks that the five moves of doom make him unstoppable. I'm just not sold on that.
Manny doesn't like John Cena, everybody.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
He calls me a Cena fan. I'm not necessarily a Cena fan.
Oh, no, because I've never seen you with any Cena merchandise.
No. I'm not necessarily a Cena fan. I can respect what he does night in and night out.
I respect his contributions to the sport, but other than that, I mean, we already know if this was the 80s, he'd been out of here a long time ago.
Well, that's always been the thing about WWE, because remember, Gorilla Monsoon famously said that Hulk Hogan couldn't wrestle his way out of a wet paper bag, you know. The late, great Gorilla Monsoon said that he couldn't wrestle his way out of.
Well, I mean, compared to guys like Perfect and Brett and Sean, I had to agree.
The purists of the sports didn't really like that. But moving on to the card, of course, the streak is once again back on the line. See, the Undertaker has the best. Let me tell you what he has. He has the best gig in all of sports. The man gets to wrestle one time a year, and always wrestles a spectacular match every year. And it finds a way to win.
His trilogy with Hunter, his two matches with Sean, were breathtaking.
His match with Batista at WrestleMania 26, I believe.
Epic.
So he's had some great matches. He's a guy that has 1,000 winning percentage almost every year. Wrestles one match each year, and that's at WrestleMania.
Because he's been there the longest.
And that's only to keep the streak alive. But of course, he's facing Brock Lesnar.
It's not just
or as Paul Heyman likes to say, Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, he's really in love with saying Brock's name. Yeah. But once again, I got to disagree with his batting average, because you're talking about the guy who drove Hogan out of the WWF. This is a guy who's been since the Hogan era, since Shawn was just a babyface kid, has been in that locker room. Has transcended time as a leader and, one of the perennial cornerstones of the WWE.
Yeah, I mean, of course, he is. But one match a year, though, man. One match a year.
He's earned it.
One match.
What else does he have to prove? I mean, he's won the Rumble. He's been undisputed champion. He's been World Heavyweight champion. He's been the WWE champion. He's won the tag belts. He's won the WCW tag team titles. With his brother, the Brothers of Destruction. Right. He's won the Hardcore title.
Yeah.
He's won the Intercontinental title. I mean, what else more does he have to prove?
Well, this is the question everybody asks. We ask this question every year because, of course, we really don't know. Is the streak going to continue this year?
Absolutely.
Is Brock going to be the one that's going to end the streak?
Brock Lesnar, the same guy who couldn't beat Alistair Overeem and Cain Velasquez? Yeah.
Right. But the thing that we know about is that, we know how things are booked sometimes. And I think it would be a travesty.
Cain Velasquez versus Undertaker.
Right.
That might be
a good fight.
That would definitely be a good fight.
Now, of course, we know how things are booked, man. I think they would do themselves a great justice.
Yeah, but I mean, Brock put on the whole tough guy thing when Taker was sitting with his wife at one of the UFC events he was fighting at and got in his grill. Like, what are you going to do about it? Well, now here we are.
Yeah.
And we know if he gets the last ride, the choke slam, then the repeated tombstone pile drivers, which he's famous for.
Or on WrestleMania, as we saw on WrestleMania 27, the Hell's Gate that he locked in on.
The Gogo Plata choke, yes.
The Hell's Gate that he locked in on Triple H with the sledgehammer in his hand.
Yeah.
And that he ended up making him tap. He always finds a way to get it done at WrestleMania.
Always finds a way. That's what the dead man does.
And then, of course, the next one, which is one of the weirder matches that I've seen on the card. Mady's favorite wrestler.
Leslie, can you please not insult me?
John Cena against Bray Wyatt. This was an angle, but I just want to talk about this. This is an angle that came out of left field.
I was like, what?
This is an angle that came out of left field. Now we know Bray Wyatt's getting a huge push from the WWE, and we know that.
You know why he's really getting a huge push. You know who his father is, right? IRS.
Right.
He's Mike Rotundo's son, so automatically it's guaranteed super push,
right?
Because you're a third generation superstar.
Yeah, Randy Orton.
You already know his dad's Cowboy Bob Orton.
Orton.
His uncle is Barry Orton. His grandfather is Bob Orton Sr.
Yeah, bloodlines mean something. But I remember the kid when he was still Husky Harris.
I remember that too when he was on NXT.
I remember when he's Husky Harris, but they've done a great job of rebundling him and putting him out here.
Oh, I love the Wyatt family.
It's hard for me to get onto this angle because it came so randomly out of nowhere.
Super Cena went and begged Vince, I need something to fill the my checkbook with. Can you book me at WrestleMania? Because Dwayne won't play with me anymore.
I'm going to say this one thing, and Husky Harris is
very talented
wrestler, but his gimmick, for all those of you old school WWE fans, you know what it screams of me?
What?
Waylon Mercy. That's all I got to say.
Wow, did you really jump back into 1994?
If you're an old school WWE wrestling fan, you know who Waylon Mercy is.
Wow, shout out to the nostalgia that Lesson just dropped on the show.
Look, you got to be old school to know about that,
You got to be a dedicated fan.
And then, of course, the only other official match we have is this Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which is, I think, a great move by the WWE and one of the greats in wrestling history to honor Andre the Giant.
Of course, the eighth wonder of the world.
And you can never go wrong with the Battle Royal. I mean, it's a great way to fill time on a card.
Of course.
And so many possibilities of what can happen in a Battle Royal.
The best WrestleMania Battle Royal still was the one where they had all the NFL players in it.
Yeah.
When they had William the Refrigerator Perry, Chris Spielman, and all those guys were there. It was just that was something you had to watch as a kid.
So the winner of that is also, I believe, going to get a title shot in the future. So this card is going to fill out over the next couple of weeks. We may have an edition or two, but it's going to be big in the 30th edition of WrestleMania at the Louisiana Superdome in New Orleans. Should be big, and we're looking forward to it. Of course, stay tuned to all the things we'll be talking about in the clinch about that, because you never know. So we're getting ready to wrap up this show. We got one more segment to go. We are going to look a little bit more at UFC Fight Night, give you some of the results there of what's going on. There's live results right now that we're streaming on MMAJunkie.com, also UFC.com. It's on Fox Sports 1. But we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with our last segment, talk a little bit more UFC Fight Night 38, and then we'll close things out. But, make sure, again, you're checking us out on Twitter, at DMVCS, on Twitter, at DMVCS2, on Instagram, Facebook, DMVCS Radio. We'll be right back. It's In the Clinch.
In the Clinch.
back here. You're with DMVCS in the Clinch.
In the Clinch.
On WLVS Radio, ListenVisionLive.com. You can catch us here every Sunday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Make sure you check in on ListenVisionLive.com. We're right there. One more reminder, of course, make sure you follow us on Twitter, at DMVCS, Instagram at DMVCS2, the number 2, and then Facebook, search us DMVCS Radio.
And follow us on Vine at DMVCS.
There you go. We're right there, man. So before we get started, just wanted to get, Manny wanted to get some shout outs in, so we'll let him go ahead and do that, man.
We're going to give a special shout out to a major contributor behind the scenes. She's been very vocal and supportive of me doing this, and that's Miss Amanda Hurd. I'm sorry. She's been very vocal. She's a huge wrestling fan too. She's going to be at Monday Night Raw, so we got to give her a special shout out and look for her on the show.
Yeah, big shout out to Lady Diva, no doubt. Indeed.
Yes, Amanda Diva, no question.
Indeed.
And I also want to give a nice big shout out to my man who's been under the weather. I'm glad he's getting okay, and that's our dear buddy Ron Fleming.
Yeah, man. Get well, man. Get well, Jay.
Get well, Fat Cat.
Yeah, man. So, of course, we want to alert you to our Teespring campaign that's starting this week. We will be putting up DMVCS t-shirts for sale. You can check the links at every one of our social media networks, and we'll make sure to get the link out there so you can buy a DMVCS shirt, help to continue to support the show, keep us on the air, and show your support for DMVCS overall. If you love the content that we give you each week, we just want to get that out there. So make sure to look out. Teespring campaign coming this week. Next week we'll have the whole link so that you can get out there. You, your crew, your mama, your cousins, your father, everybody can buy one.
Yes, all the little fight fans out there.
There you do, man. So we'll have that up next week. But looking at this UFC Fight Night, and we're getting ready to close the show out, but we wanted to make sure that we updated you on the card as far as what's happened so far. But so far right now, it looks like that Fabio Maldonado, Gian Vellante fight has wrapped up, and it looks like this might be a contender for Fight of the Night. Fabio Maldonado victorious over Gian Vellante, 29-27, 29-28, and 29-28. A slugfest so far that happened in the fight against Maldonado and Vellante. It looks like Vellante had the first round 10-9, according to MMA Junkie. They also MMA Junkie gave Maldonado the second round 10-9, and it looks like the last round MMA Junkie gave Maldonado 10-8. They gave him the fight, and it looks like what happens is that Vellante just survived the fight. Was dropped at the end of the third round.
Whoa!
Mouthpiece coming out, staggering around the cage. But he definitely showed heart. I wouldn't be surprised to be able to see if this was the fight of the night tonight. A fight that I think a lot of people would have given the edge to Vellante coming in, but Maldonado, a guy that can bang, and this seemed like it was a slugfest.
So he didn't pull a Melvin Gillard.
He did not pull a Melvin Gillard at all.
Nice.
And another fight that we talked about, Michel Prazeres versus Maridek Taisumov. Taisumov and Prazeres fighting, and it was Prazeres unanimous decision, 30-25, 30-25, 30-25. By my count, that's at least 2 10-8 rounds.
Yeah, just about.
And it looks like it was a fight that he was able to control with some takedowns and also with good defense. And that is Michel Prazeres is victorious tonight in that bout against Taisumov. Ronnie Jason, we talked about this earlier. Steven Seiler with the knockout, 117 into the first round. Thiago Santos victorious over Ronnie Marquez via TKO strikes in round 1, 53 seconds into round 1. So it was quick work.
Yeah, very quick work. Did he break a sweat?
Yeah. It looks like Marquez tried to go for a high kick. Santos scored with the doomed kick to the liver. And
shades of Bas Rutten, the good liver kick.
Exactly. And Santos jumped on him with punches, and then Mario Yamasaki called the fight with 53 seconds left in it. That is, of course, a middleweight who has his own gym, by the way, Mario Yamasaki.
Well, he has a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, so I wouldn't doubt it.
So but Santos getting the victory there. One of the more interesting fights of the night was the very first fight that happened during the night, which included Noad Lahat versus Godofredo Pepe. Pepe with what people are now calling, not just on social media, but by all the recounts, probably one of the best finishes of the year with a knockout. It came by way of an overhand right and then eventually a flying knee where Lahat was knocked out cold And everyone on Twitter right now has been talking about this so far. I saw this before I came into the studio. So I want to see this knockout, and we'll talk about it next week.
Oh, definitely.
And if we can get a video clip of it next week, we'll make sure to show it.
Yeah, definitely.
You can see it here on DMVCS and the Clinch.
Definitely. If he went level 4 Sagat in Street Fighter Alpha, I got to see this.
Right. Now, another candidate for Fight of the Night, more than likely, Hans Stringer defeating Francimar Barrasso via split decision, 29-28, 28-29, 29-28. That's about as close as you can get for a fight. But by split decision, he wins. That is a light heavyweight bout there in the UFC. And just wrapping up the last part of the card, what we'll give you here, of course, you can check Fox Sports 1 to watch the rest of this card. Tiago Perpetuo versus Kenny Robertson. And is Robertson with a rear naked choke, a submission victory in round 1, 145 over Perpetuos.
That's almost like something on The Ultimate Fighter there.
Went in for the rear naked choke, got it in, and had him to tap. So we've seen a lot of finishes here, an exciting card. I'm looking forward to seeing it on my DVR when I get home later on today.
Indeed.
And, of course, up later on, we will see the bout between part 2 between Hendo and Shogun, and it'll be interesting to see where the winner goes from here, where the loser goes from here after this fight is done.
Yeah, I mean, because, like I said, these guys are two former Pride legends. To me, both of them need to be in the UFC Hall of Fame for their contributions to the sport and what they have done as fighters in the sport. And the highlight reel finishes and knockouts that they have. I mean, Hendo with the H-bomb, the most devastating overhand right in the business.
Yeah.
Put Michael Bisping flat.
Yeah.
I mean, I just didn't think that Michael Bisping would ever stop talking until I saw that night. I said, oh, my God, he put him on mute.
Well, there you go. And I think, though, a big upset, Maldonado defeating Vellante. Given Vellante's wrestling, but this was a slugfest, and I would love to see this fight, see the recap
well, yeah,
of this
fight.
Just
judging by what they're reporting on the internet, basically these two guys wanted to be inside a phone booth and just bet.
There you go. There you go. Well, that's all of our time this week, ladies and gentlemen. As always, you're here at DMVCS and the Clinch. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at DMVCS, Instagram at DMVCS2, and then Facebook, DMVCS Radio. And you can also search us on Vine with DMVCS and email us. Go at DMVCS@gmail.com. Yo, of course, we're here every Sunday night, 8 o'clock. Shout out to Jordan K, just manning the spaceship controls and on the wheels of steel.
No cloud about
My
it.
man Manny Z here to my right. I'm Lesson. Catch us here every Sunday night, 8 o'clock as Sunday. WLVS Radio, ListenVisionLive.com. It's in the Clinch. See y'all next week.
See you next week.
Welcome to the game. Now here's your starting lineup. Brought to you by E-Dub, official with the sign up. Having 40 minutes pressure, Arkansas to Pine Bluff. Little Rocks with gangs bang until they fucking time's up. Fire like it's pre-game pyro. Ready off this hype and I'm high off hydro. Once the clock starts, then it's on to the minute. Ballin' like LeBron off the palm till I'm finished in it. Till the last second is spent. And I'ma play the point till you niggas forfeit or quit or offer the split. Critics talking shit like it's hands up and man down. I'm at the 50 with chin strapped to stand ground. Game time on my pulse, racing like stock cars. 200 laps and I'm checking flag like a rock star. And give a damn what your thoughts are. W's counting them out, checking the bank like Bart Star. Are you in to win or just another pawn? I'ma keep it cranking hard till the break of dawn. Break it dawn, break it dawn, break it till the break of dawn. Count slow, stakes high till the break of dawn. Are you in to win or just